evening from New York. We stand at a pivotal moment in American politics this week. The prevailing maxim in politics used to be that the cover-up was worse than the crime, meaning if a politician got caught, fess up. Don't make it worse by lying about it again. But in our fifth story tonight, Republican Tea Party candidates have thrown that maxim and caution and consistency and honesty to the wind. Exhibit A, the case of Carl Palladino, New York Republican Tea Party gubernatorial candidate Carl Palladino. We told you yesterday about his encounter with Fred Dicker of the New York Post, in which the would-be governor said both F him and added he would take Dicker out. When Dicker asked if that was a threat, responding, watch. At issue was Dicker's demand that Palladino provide evidence of his claim made on Tuesday that Democratic rival Andrew Cuomo had been unfaithful to his wife. Here's the timeline, and for viewers with weak constitutions, you might want to sit this one out. On Tuesday, Palladino, who recently came forward about a daughter he had out of wedlock a decade ago, told Politico to ask Cuomo, quote, about his paramours. Asked for evidence, he said, want me to go get affidavits from the women? And then said he knew who 3 of the 4 women were. After his dust-up with Dicker on Wednesday, Palladino stood by his claim yesterday.
He was asking you for proof of allegations that you made that the Attorney General, your opponent, had affairs when he was married to Kerry Kennedy. Do you have that proof?
I informed him at the time that at the appropriate time, when we're good and ready, we will furnish that. Andrew Cuomo has to account for all of his past, and I assure you that this is just the beginning of what I will vet on Andrew Cuomo.
Hours later, Mr. Palladino claimed he had not promised Mr. Dicker to provide evidence of any affairs.
I responded that, because I didn't understand the context of the question, I responded that I would respond at the appropriate time.
He responded that he would respond? Let's go to the videotape.
Do you have the evidence or do you not?
Fingers don't. I will, at the appropriate time, you're going to hear it.
Go ahead, ask me the question. Do you have any evidence for the charge you made?
At the appropriate time, you'll get it.
Nevertheless, Palladino continued to insist he had only said the media should ask Cuomo about possible affairs.
Let me ask you, Carl, when do you plan to present the information that you say you have about Andrew Cuomo? Because that would put it.
I said that I will respond at the appropriate time, because his question caught me off guard. I didn't know what he was referring to when he said that I have information on Andrew Cuomo. Yeah, I said it in the context of a discussion with Maggie Haberman about why the press does not go and ask him questions like that.
In fact, by the end of yesterday's interview, Palladino was on record saying, no, of course he was not saying Cuomo had been unfaithful.
So you're not saying then, I'll clear the record here, you're not saying that you're accusing him of having infidelities. You're asking why they didn't ask.
Why don't they go on I don't have any, but they come and they ask me the question.
Today, he appeared on Fox News.
You also told Politico that you claimed you knew of 3, quote, 3 of the 4 women who Andrew Cuomo allegedly had an affair with, and then you turn around and tell the Buffalo News last night that you have no proof. So which is it, sir?
What evidence do you have?
We will, at the appropriate time, okay, say whatever we have in our box at the appropriate time.
Whatever he does have in his box, the world waits with bated breath to know. And then there is Exhibit B, California Republican Tea Party gubernatorial candidate Meg Whitman. For a while, it seemed as though Whitman might wriggle out of the scandal of having had an undocumented immigrant working for her, until she claimed she and her husband never got the letter flagging the woman's dubious Social Security number.
If there is a letter out there, I don't know how they got it. It's not in our house. And so, somehow it ended up in, Jerry Brown's hand or Gloria Allred's hands. So we never saw that letter. And as I understand the process, normally if that was to happen, they would have sent a letter first to the employee, then 2 weeks later to the employer. And I think there's a question about whether employers with less than 10 employees actually got such a letter.
Problem is, the letter is still extant, and it has her husband's handwriting on it, something that Whitman now does not dispute, making even more problematic the fact that Whitman previously suggested that the letter intended for her and her husband might have been stolen by, the housekeeper. Let's bring in Democratic strategist Steve Hildebrand of Hildebrand Strategies Consulting, formerly deputy campaign manager for the Obama presidential campaign. Thank you for your time tonight, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so here's your hypothetical. The Palladino campaign is on the phone for you. They want to know which version they're going with tomorrow. They are accusing Cuomo and do have evidence, or they're not and they don't. And you say what?
I think I would say, Keith, what my mother always told me is, when you lie, cheat, and steal, you're going to get caught. It's time to fess up. You're lying, you're cheating, you're stealing. So it's time to fess up, and we'll put this behind us. The more he drags this out, the more problematic it's going to be for him. So I think it's time to move on.
Assuming he does not get hit by the lightning bolt of logic that suggests or implies, we'll put you on the other side of the equation. You're in the Cuomo campaign, and you're targeting voters who are so ticked off about the economy, whatever, that they don't care about the sort of serial inconsistency here. They're just in the mood to throw the bums out. How do you get those people to care about this and the implications of the dishonesty that is so blatantly on exhibit here?
Well, the first thing I would do is make sure that Andrew Cuomo puts it out there constantly that he has a lifelong record of fighting for middle-class voters, for consumer rights, and that he is not one of the bums and we shouldn't throw him out. He's one of the good ones. We need to keep him. He needs to get out there, and he needs to get his surrogates out there saying that. But Keith, you know, a piece in politics that is so important is trust. And if we can't trust Palladino to talk about a character issue in an honest and sincere way, you can't trust him with the economy. Andrew Cuomo is a good, sincere, honest guy, and we ought to elect him the next governor of this great state.
The other great state, to prove this is not just a New York thing for a change, in California, Meg Whitman does not seem to be in quite as complicated nor bad a predicament, but it's very specific. It's right on point. She's made a big deal about holding the employers of the undocumented accountable. So is this more like a direct small laser hit against her?
Well, I think what you're seeing, Keith, is a pattern amongst these Republican conservative candidates that are aligning themselves with the Tea Party. They're going farther and farther and farther to the right as far as they can get. You know, these folks are becoming more and more dangerous, and I say that in a sincere way. Meg Whitman has a real problem here. She's looking weak. She is hemorrhaging. You know, it's hard to justify being a billionaire and not being able to appropriately pay for taxes and things like that. She is part of the problem in this country. But Keith, you know, you got to point out that these Tea Party Republicans, you know, in addition to the lying and cheating and stealing, they're also deceiving the American people in who they really are. These are the same people that are going to destroy Social Security. They're going to dismantle Medicare and Medicaid. They're going to take away workers' rights. They're going to repeal women's rights. They are fiscal conservatives who are going to destroy government, and they're also social conservatives who are going to destroy people's lives.
Democratic strategist Steve Hildebrand of Hildebrand Strategies Consulting. Great, thanks for your insight on this one.